My name is Mariah Tyler Moore. I'm 29 years old, and I am based in Central Utah. I spend a lot of time feeling behind the authors with thousands of sales, behind the musicians with real studios and producers and label deals, behind the journalists with degrees on their walls, behind the entrepreneurs who seem to have everything figured out while I'm still working to make ends meet. I compare myself constantly to people online, to people at conferences, to some imaginary version of where I think I should be by now, and it's been eating me alive. So I did something I probably should have done a long time ago. I actually looked at the data. I pulled my real numbers, my real stats, and I held them up against the actual industry benchmarks for every field I work in. What I found surprised me. So here's who I am on paper at 29. I have 9 published novels across 9 different genres, with 4 more releasing this year. I currently have 146 original songs on streaming platforms. I'm a working journalist freelancing for established newspapers. I'm the founder and CEO of Radical Resilience LLC, also the founder of Sanpete Serves, an independent local news publication, and a faculty presenter at the Las Vegas Writers Conference, where I'm on the same roster as New York Times best-selling authors and literary agents. All of this without a college degree, yet. Let's start with publishing, because that's where most of my self-doubt lives. These numbers on the screen are what indie publishing actually looks like. I want you to really sit with them because I had no idea it was this bad. The one that got me was that less than 1% of Americans ever publish a single book. I have 9, and most indie books never sell 100 copies. I've been beating myself up for not selling enough, but I didn't even know what enough looked like until I saw the benchmarks. So here's what I've actually done. 734 units in 15 months. My romanticy sweet little unforgettable thing is leading, the spaces between us is right behind it, and the rest are building. Now here's where it gets real. On the left is the average indie author. On the right is me. I outpace the median on volume, on catalog size, and on age. But I promised I'd do this without flinching, so here's the other side. 734 copies is real readership. But it is not yet a livable income. The royalties from this period are somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. I know where I stand. The catalog is built. Now it needs readers. The bestseller badge. I want to be honest about this one too. The Spaces Between Us hit #1 in literary sagas on Kindle for 48 consecutive hours. It's a niche subcategory. Industry professionals see it as a marketing tool. I'm not going to pretend it means I'm a blockbuster. But that badge opened doors. It helped me get accepted as conference faculty. It gave me credibility. The badge is a tool. I used it well. I have been getting a few reviews as well. Only 1 to 3% of Amazon buyers ever leave a review, so the fact that strangers found me and had something to say means more to me than almost anything else on these slides. Corey said The Spaces Between Us nailed the experience of living with chronic pain. Bookish Panda called my D&D book wild and weird and said the ending made them question everything. That is exactly what I was going for. Now, about my lyrics. I am not a musician, but I write and produce songs. 146 original songs now, to be exact. These are my lyrics, my words. These streaming benchmarks on the screen are genuinely wild. Half of all Spotify artists never reach 100 lifetime streams. 8 million uploaders have fewer than 10 tracks. Here's what my year looked like. 3,816 listens on Spotify, 815 on Apple Music. About 4,600 combined. That's above the majority of uploaders on the entire platform. Now the honest part, 4,600 streams made me about $20. I'm below the threshold for Spotify's algorithm to even notice me. My instinct has always been to create until I collapse, and that instinct built an incredible vault. But streaming doesn't reward volume without marketing. By industry standards, my lyrical career is embryonic. But it exists. The songs are real. The intellectual property is mine. And that's more than millions of people who dream about it ever accomplish. Okay, now for journalism. This is the one that might matter most. Did you know local news is collapsing? 3,500 papers have closed. 270,000 jobs are gone. 213 counties left with 0 local news. And 80% of news deserts are rural. This is the world I walked into on purpose. I freelance for papers that have been around since the 1800s. I founded Sanpete Serves to cover local government in a county that had no digital news outlet. And I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. 17 years now as a professional writer. But look, fewer than 10% of journalism startups launch in rural areas. 97% of grants go to metro organizations. Nobody funded me with this. I just built it because it needed to exist. On to my being conference faculty. In 10 days, I'm presenting at the Las Vegas Writers Conference. The people on this roster have won major awards and run literary agencies and produced films. Only 21% of presenters in this country are my age. The conference team looked at an indie author with roots in Las Vegas and under 1,000 lifetime sales and said, "We want her on the same list as our New York Times bestsellers." That is not nothing. Okay, moving to entrepreneurship. These are the stats. I want you to read each row, because every single one of them is a factor stacked against me. My age, my gender, my location, my industry. The average entrepreneur founds their business at age 42. Rural entrepreneurship has fallen 40% since 1978. Only 12% of U.S. businesses are rural. I am a 29-year-old woman running a creative LLC from a town of 3,000. The statistics say I shouldn't exist. Now here is my digital footprint. I've acquired 168,000 views on a Facebook profile I relaunched in October. There's been 44 active users on my website since I recently started using analytics on it. The growth percentages are frankly kind of insane for a page that young, and the 51-second engagement time on my website means the people who do find me are kind of reading my stuff. Now the honest gaps. Because growth requires knowing where the friction is. I have mastered creation. I have not yet mastered distribution. Look at this funnel. 168,000 people saw my content. 119 followed. 44 made it to the website. That's a 0.07% retention rate. The attention exists. The pipeline doesn't. This is the single biggest thing I need to fix. What needs to shift is creation to curation. Reach to capture. Scattered to focused. I no longer need to prove I can write a book or produce a song. I've done that exhaustively. Now I need to put my own concepts into action. The castle is built, so it's time I open the gates. Here's the whole picture. I made this presentation because I cried last night for an hour, feeling overwhelmed by failure. I hiked up my big girl pants this morning and decided to challenge my own thinking. It may sound conceited, but at 29, I am performing above the median in 5 distinct professional fields simultaneously. I'm doing it from the rural West Coast, without a college degree, without a traditional publisher, without venture capital, and without institutional backing of any kind. I'm doing it with nearly 15 medical diagnoses running at the same time, including POTS, which gives me the quality of life comparable to someone on kidney dialysis. I'm doing it with autism and ADHD and depression and CPTSD and a body that is actively trying to quit on me every single day. The benchmarks don't have a category for someone doing all of this at once. My commercial metrics are early stage for sure. My conversion funnel needs work. My revenue doesn't yet match my output. All of that is true. But the infrastructure I've built by 29 is the kind most creative professionals don't achieve until their 40s. The catalog exists, the credentials are real, the intellectual property is mine, and nobody can take that growth from me. To summarize the point of this, I've spent years thinking I wasn't doing enough, but today the data is literally telling me otherwise. I realize that my goals do matter when I work toward them. It's like I discuss in my Radical Resilience and Goal Setting workshop. A true goal must be SMART. That's an acronym that means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I am measuring the progress toward my goals by making this presentation. It taught me I should be proud of myself. Thank you for listening. As always, I'm striving to be more.